Welcome to the Positive Sports Podcast and a special edition tonight, our 2018 Major League Baseball preview. I'll be your host this evening, Ed Montana. Alongside me today, my baseball throwing, bat swinging, base stealing brother, Alex. How are you today?
What is up, everyone? The smell of spring and baseball and dirt and grass is here.
Can't wait. We are oh so close to Thursday's opening day. Enough with the nice stuff. Let's get right down to business. Let's start by a little recap. Let's bring everyone up to speed because I know sometimes people forget. Although, how could you forget? 2017 finished up with a bang. We had an awesome playoff season last year. The Yankees and Astros in the ALCS was fantastic. The NLCS was great. We ended up with a matchup, a classic, an instant classic with the Houston Astros and the Los Angeles Dodgers, and we were treated to 7 fantastic games. Yep. One of them, I don't know if you agree or not, I thought Game 5 it was one for the ages.
Oh, yeah.
I think it was one of those instant classics that ESPN doesn't do the instant classics anymore.
Not anymore.
But they should, and if they did, that game would be there because it was unbelievable. The back and forth of that game. Yep. I'm not an Astros or a Dodgers fan. I could watch that game over and over again. It was great. I loved it.
Yeah, DVR is great, but if you went to sleep on that one, it's just not the same, man. You missed out.
Yeah, I've heard people say that. I've never been one like I can't imagine not watching a game to its finish, especially in the playoffs. But yeah, you're right. That was one that I'm sure a lot of people were kicking themselves. I had a buddy who actually, by some miracle, I don't remember the exact story, snagged a couple of tickets to that game.
Sweet.
Took his 6-year-old son, they were in school, right? Yeah. Said, I don't care, which, best dad ever, right? We're all playing for second place in the dad race after that. Took his kid to Game 5. Wow. That game. I mean, talk about a lucky kid.
I mean, dad of the year right there.
Yeah, no kidding. So it ended up the Astros winning a very exciting series in Game 7, and that was the last bit of competitive baseball we saw. Mm-hmm. And what a wonderful way to finish off the playoff season. And then we went into the offseason. What was the biggest story of the offseason for you?
For me, although it was a very slow-moving offseason,
it was.
It has to be Shohei Ohtani.
Oh, look at that. You're even willing to say his first name.
I said it. I said it pretty good, too.
That was
pretty smooth.
I've gone strictly with Ohtani. I don't even try it.
I'm sure you're not in the minority on that one. I mean, he's got to be not the story, but it's a very unique story, I think, and one that will be talking throughout most of the Major League season. I mean, this guy pitches and he hits, and he does both well.
Yeah, it's and he's a young guy, right? Yeah. So if he can stay healthy through the rigors of an MLB season, English is hard.
Yeah, hooked on phonics, brother.
I tried. I gave it up years ago. I'm no longer hooked. If he can withstand the rigors of MLB baseball, 162 games, it's going to be fascinating to watch. Really. And we're going to obviously break down all the divisions and stuff. There are some must-see topics. Mm-hmm. I think Ohtani is a must-see this year. It's weird, too, because if you think about it, in Little League and in high school, usually your best pitcher, if not your second best pitcher, is also your best hitter.
Right.
And so, but at some point, they diverge. And guys become strictly pitchers or strictly hitters. Ohtani apparently never got the memo that he was only supposed to do one or the other because he does both. It's going to be very fascinating to watch. It's always interesting to see these guys from Japan come over and try to adjust to the MLB way of life. And this one is going to be twice as interesting.
Yeah,
to see.
It's very, very intriguing. I mean, it's you got to wonder how they're going to use him, right? I mean, he pitches one day and then does he DH the next 4 nights? I mean, or I mean, I don't know how they plan on using him.
The really interesting thing
he could literally play all 162 games
and have 35 starts, right?
That's
Holy
crazy.
Crap.
That's crazy.
And here's the thing, and we'll talk about this later when we talk about our awards, right? But if a guy has 35 starts and plays 162 games, even if he has mediocre numbers, is he not automatically the MVP?
He's got to be in the discussion. Got to be.
And if that's the case, does he not just win MVP every year? I mean, think about it. In the NFL, if Tom Brady was quarterback and your lockdown cornerback or linebacker, how does he not win MVP?
Yeah, I don't know, man.
Maybe that's how a Jets quarterback could win an MVP.
Ah, good luck.
Can't get him to throw the ball, let alone tackle.
So, besides Ohtani, I mentioned a little bit about a slow-moving free agency.
Yeah.
I mean, it moved about as slow as we've ever seen it. All the way up to the week before spring training.
I can't recall it ever moving this slowly. Remember, years ago, I mean, you used to see a wave of deals the week after the World Series is over. Yep. In fact, one year, not very long ago, Alex Rodriguez made an announcement of where he was going during the World Series.
Yeah.
And now it's the exact opposite. And, you know, obviously we're gauging it by the big names, but I mean, Darvish took forever, which I thought they were going to snap. Someone was going to snap him up quickly. Jake Arrieta went to... I think the teams were already caravanning down to Florida and Arizona when he got signed. I mean, it was crazy. It was very, very slow moving.
J.D. Martinez, he's another one. I mean, a big bet like that usually goes quick.
Yeah, my theory on that is I think there's a lot of GMs that are almost looking past 2018. The 2019 free agency crop looks pretty good, with the biggest fish in there, of course, being Bryce Harper. And I think because of some of these really excellent teams that we have right now, and we'll talk about them as we go through the divisions, I think there's a lot of GMs that are like, well, we're not catching up to them this year, so there's no rush to make this deal. We don't have to beat everyone else to get Jake Arrieta.
Right.
Let's see how it pans out. And he's asking for too much. Let's keep some in the coffers because next year is when I really want to make my moves. That's just my theory. I don't know. I'm not a GM. I just play one on TV.
That's a pretty valid point, though.
I think that may very well be it.
Yeah, the Jake Arrieta one for me is a head scratcher. I mean, the Cubs offered him more years, more money. And you go to the Phillies. Not knocking the Phillies, and I'll get to that later. But, that one's a head scratcher for me.
Yeah, usually more money kind of seals the deal, right?
Yes,
it's a terrible thing to say, especially in baseball where the contracts are guaranteed. I'm not passing up that extra dough.
I sure wouldn't.
If the Cubs had offered me more money, I would go pitch for them.
I sure would. I'll ride the pine, bro.
Because I've got a mean fastball. It's not very fast.
At all.
But I've got a good curveball.
But it doesn't curve.
But I've got 3 pitches because I also have a slider.
It doesn't slide.
Well, but I have 3 pitches. Most pitchers don't have 3 pitches. So
you're right. They have like 5 or 6.
Well, I mean, I can throw a changeup, but I don't change to throw it.
And they have a spitball, which is like the best one.
I can spit.
Dude, in 3rd grade, spitballs were the best.
You mean the ones with the straw?
That's right.
All right, we're getting off track.
All right, let's go.
All right, where do you want to start?
Well, I want to start in the American League, and I want to start in the American League West, where, rightfully so...
You're a weirdo.
How?
Have you ever seen the standings start with the West? Why don't you want to start in the East like the standings normally start?
Because the defending champions play in the AL West, and they deserve...
I guess that's
to be the headline.
I guess that's a good
And
point.
not to mention, I don't think they even play at home. They should be playing at home in the first opening series on opening day.
They're not?
I do not believe they are.
That's kind of rude. Okay, let's go with the AL West. That is where our defending champions reside. The Astros from the great state of Texas, the city of Houston. The Houston Astros. Look, and I think we're going to hear this more than once, unfortunately. Last year was an anomaly that may be repeated this year, which I guess would not make that an anomaly. Mm-hmm. Last year we had 3 teams win 100 games. We had several divisions won by double-digit figures, 11. There were a couple of divisions, I believe, that were won by 20-plus games, 20 or 21. Yeah. And I think this is one of them as well. The Astros have done nothing to hurt themselves in the offseason. They're a young squad with the exception of Justin Verlander. The one old guy they had was Carlos Beltran, who retired, but he wasn't a key piece of the puzzle anyway. They added Garrett Cole. They locked up Altuve. They still have Correa and Springer, and I think AJ Hinch is a hell of a manager, really. Yeah. So I don't see the Astros taking a step back. It's hard to say that they're going to win 101 games or 102 games, whatever they won last year. It's hard to say that a team's going to do that again. But the Astros are going to win 101 games again. I mean, they're a good, solid team. And then as you go down that division, obviously the Angels are going to be the conversation piece. They were in the wild card hunt last year. The addition of Ohtani is a good one. But questions do remain throughout the lineup and really on the pitching staff as well. They really didn't do much to address their pitching staff other than Ohtani. It's going to be interesting how they integrate him in. I think from a managerial perspective, it's going to be difficult because, at first thought, to get a guy who can potentially have 30 starts and hit 25 home runs would sound like a godsend, right? Yeah. But think about the issues that could crop up in a clubhouse. What happens do you hit him when he pitches, or do you bring someone else in to DH? If that DH is struggling, do you go back to him? When you're playing in a National League park, right? If he's going to be your DH when he's not pitching at home, when you go to a National League park for those interleague games, when he pitches, do you hit him and sit your DH, or why not have him sit and have your DH? I mean, you get into some complicated issues at home. If your second baseman is struggling and he's pitching, he's a better bat, do you bat him and sit you and DH your second base? I mean, look, at first glance, it seems great. Right. But it brings a lot of issues. And baseball, you cannot underestimate the value of the clubhouse in baseball. Yeah. It will be definitely interesting how they use Ohtani. And I think the addition of Ohtani is going to help out Albert Pujols on the Angels just because it can give him some rest. Let's not forget that they still have a 5-tool player in Mike Trout. Their pitching might be the biggest question mark of the team. I think they have enough on the offense to put up 6 runs a game. But back to the Astros, I see no hangover on the Astros. They only made additions. They didn't lose anybody in value. And they just have a good, young, fun team that is very talented. Yeah. Super talented. I don't see them having a hangover. Can they repeat 101 wins? Maybe not, but I don't see them losing grip of that division. I think that the Rangers in that division are going to be sellers, and Oakland is always trying to figure it out, and you don't know, you never know what kind of direction they want to go in. So that's the West for me. I agree. Over in the Central, which if you looked at the standings, they kind of mirror the West, right? You had the Indians; they won 102, and they kind of ran away with the Central themselves. So I kind of see the same in that division. They
they lost their pitching coach, Mickey Callaway, to the Mets, but I think their starting rotation is talented enough that it could keep up exactly what, how they performed last year. They got Kluber, the reigning Cy Young, so I don't see a drop off there, and I just don't see the Twins would be the other team that I kind of like because I like it because they're young. They've made some great additions to the starting rotation. They picked up Alex Cobb, who also got picked up late. They picked up Michael Pineda. He's bringing his pine tar to Minnesota. And I like Paul Molitor as a coach. I think he's doing a good job of keeping that young team, up to par. They made the playoffs last year. They went, they had a 1-game playoff with the Yankees. They lost, but I like them in that division to maybe challenge Cleveland. And for the rest of the division, I see just a bunch of rebuilding.
Yeah, I think this to me is one of the easier divisions to pick apart because I think you've got the class of the division and really a team that I think is certainly in the first class elite of the major leagues. The Cleveland Indians, if you recall, last year at times really looked like the best team in baseball. They had that long winning streak, and they've been good for a while. And I don't see any slowing down with that team, except for injuries. Obviously, can always affect that stuff. But I think that they are head and shoulders above in that division. I agree with you. I like Minnesota. It's a good young team. My problem with them is I don't think they really did anything to improve themselves, and they weren't a 100-win team. And I think they won, if I'm not mistaken, it was 85 games. So they lost the division by quite a bit, and that's a big gap to try to fill with the Indians.
17 games.
17 games is a lot.
Yeah.
The other team in there that I think is going to be kind of like Minnesota. Don't sleep on the White Sox. The White Sox have a lot of good young talent. They've got a really good young pitcher. They've got a really good young outfielder, I believe he is. His name escapes me right now, but
is it Ozuna or
Ozuna.
Garcia?
I think it's Ozuna. That's gonna bother me.
Yes, it is.
It is.
Oh, come on. Is it RC? Oh, what the heck is his name? Hold on. I got to look this up because it's not.
Yeah, this is going to drive me nuts.
Bear with me because if we don't get it right.
Moncada.
Oh,
Yoan.
I think he's the second baseman. He's the guy that they traded from, that they got from Boston for sale, right? Okay.
And I think that's going to be a decent team. I think they're going to give Minnesota a run for the money. I think that they will play deep into the season being in contention, which is a win for them, really. Yeah. I think that's a good year for them. And then the bottom half of that division, the Royals are in serious rebuilding mode. The Tigers are in serious rebuilding mode. The only topic of interest there, I think the Royals have gotten rid of everyone who was good from a few years ago when they were in the World Series. I think the only topic of discussion with those two teams is going to be where does Miguel Cabrera go at the trade deadline, if anyone even wants him at this point, because he's up in years. So the American League Central to me is, I hate to say boring, but it's gonna be boring. I mean, the Indians are going to be fun to watch.
Yeah.
Other than that, I don't think much. Now, you can't say that about the next division we're going to talk about, and that's the AL East. The AL East will be, well, I won't say the most entertaining because there's teams on there that I don't think are going to do very well. But as far as a two-team race at the top, you're going to get a classic slugfest. This is Ali Frazier 3 right here. Possibly. The Yankees and the Red Sox. And you're going to, I mean, for you people out there that don't like watching the Yankees and the Red Sox on Sunday Night Baseball every week, you can turn off, you can unsubscribe to ESPN. Those two teams will be on Sunday Night Baseball every week and when they play each other, it will be must-watch TV. It's going to be fantastic. Everyone knows about the splash the Yankees made very early on, ironically, in the free agency market, picking up Giancarlo. I love that name.
I like the way you say it.
Giancarlo Stanton, which now makes probably the most formidable 3, 4, 5 section of a lineup out of anyone in the major leagues.
Yeah.
Because you have Judge, Stanton, and Sanchez, and that's not necessarily in 3, 4, 5 order. I have no idea.
1, 2, 3, 7, 8, 9.
Yeah, I have no idea what that order is going to be. If my only question mark with them is Aaron Boone, right? He's new, and as good as it is to have a wealth of talent like he does, sometimes it's hard to manage a wealth of talent because with a wealth of talent comes a wealth of egos. And sometimes that can be tough. And baseball's not like other sports. These guys are together every single day for 8 months if you make the playoffs.
Yeah.
Right? From March 1st to November 5th. So I'm no math major, but that's 8 March, April, May, June, July.
Yeah, about 8.
Yeah, a little over 8 months. And they're together every single day. And it makes a difference. You need a steady hand. And, oh, by the way, he's going to do it in the media cauldron that is New York.
Yeah.
Where if they lose 2 in a row, God forbid they get shut out one day, I mean, the media is going to just run roughshod over him.
Oh, yeah.
And how he handles that is going to be very important. The New York media has chewed up and spit out many a player and many a manager before. It's going to be interesting. Tell me about their opposition, though.
Man, Boston is definitely not to be slept on. They picked up a big bet that's only going to help Mookie Betts, Xander Bogaerts, Benintendi, and J.D. Martinez. I mean, that's 35 home runs at Fenway Park, right?
That might be 40.
Yeah.
That might be 40.
Yeah, maybe even more, right?
Yeah.
And so when you look at this Boston team, they fell short last year, and the biggest question mark is going to be their starting rotation, right?
I think it all hinges on one thing, personally. I think Dave Price.
Yeah.
That's the question mark.
Right.
If he can stay healthy.
If he can stay healthy and if he can get along with the Boston media and, just go there and take care of business. Yeah. They got their bullpen is decent enough. They got Craig Kimbrell, who's their closer, who had a great season last year.
I think he says it Kimbrell.
I'm sorry, Kimbrell, as my brother here likes to say. No, Boston and the Yankees are head and shoulders above the rest of Baltimore, Toronto, and Tampa Bay. You can't now. Baltimore is an interesting team because they hold a very valuable chip at third base.
That's right. I was just gonna say that the rest of that division will be interesting only up until the trade deadline.
Yeah.
It'll be very interesting to see. Baltimore has Manny Machado.
Right.
Toronto has Josh Donaldson.
Right.
And Tampa Bay has Chris Archer.
Yeah.
Those are three very important
yes.
Pieces to someone else's run to the World Series. It could be very interesting.
Well, what makes that even a bit more interesting is that we've heard all off season, are the Yankees going to go after Manny Machado? Could it happen during the season that Baltimore is just done and the Yankees have a decent enough farm to maybe give them away? That's pretty interesting.
But if I'm Baltimore, I don't think there's any way
I agree.
I make a trade to a team in my division for any reason whatsoever.
I agree.
Especially the dreaded Yankees.
Yeah. No,
I don't think they'll do that.
No, I agree. I'm just saying though, would be.
But it would be interesting.
It would be.
It would be very interesting.
Yeah. So that's pretty much wraps up the American League, huh?
Mm.
I guess.
Yeah. I hate to say this, the American League's just not that interesting.
No.
The Yankees, Red Sox, and Ohtani are the only two things I'm really focused on with the American League. Now, if we go over to the National League,
put your DH away.
Put your DH away. We're gonna let you bat now.
All right, call me Bumgarner.
I I think more like
he can
Randy
bat.
Johnson.
He can
call you more like
Kershaw.
John Kruk against Randy Johnson. The National League is going to be interesting, and I don't care where you start here. I'm willing to go.
Well, hold on a second. Let me get up for a minute. Let me adjust my shirt. Thank you.
No, I thought you were going to call in relief help.
No, I don't need any. I don't need any. Let's start in the National League East. Let's start at the top here.
The National League East is going to be very interesting.
What you got?
So you've got the Nationals who have, they've got 3 solid starters at the front end of that rotation in Scherzer, Strasburg, and Gio Gonzalez. They have Bryce Harper and Trey Turner, who I think, by the way, Trey Turner is going to be the breakout guy this year. We have not talked about him a whole lot in recent seasons, and if you look at his trajectory over those seasons, he's improving. I think he's going to continue to improve, and I think we're going to start to put him in that conversation with other shortstops like Carlos Correa, Francisco Lindor, and a guy from LA whose name just completely lost.
Me too.
Seager?
Yeah, Kyle Seager.
Corey Seager?
Corey or Kyle? Corey.
And Corey Seager. So I think the Nationals are poised to do really well. The question there is going to be, A, their bullpen, and B, these guys are now looking at quite possibly free agency. You got a couple guys on that team. If things start to go south, if they start to feel some pressure from these other teams in their division, if these other teams hang around close, are they going to start to fall apart? This is a team that's fallen apart before. We've seen it. They had far and away more talent than the Mets in 2015. And the Mets went in, swept them one series in the middle of July, I think it was, and the Nationals fell apart.
Yeah.
I wonder if that could happen to them again. Now, the difference this year as opposed to then is they're aided by the fact that they get to play 35 games or so against basically 2 AAA teams in the Miami Marlins and Atlanta Braves, which you can't underestimate the value of maybe being in a slump and then having a 6-game homestand against the Braves and the Marlins.
Right.
I mean, that's got to help any team out, right? But there are some suitors to that throne, I think, and I obviously we're Mets fans and we follow the Mets quite a bit, but even the Phillies, I think, are worth talking about. I think it's going to be very interesting. The Mets, obviously it's a stay healthy thing. The Phillies are a young team, but they also get the benefit of playing the Marlins and the Braves 35 times this year. It's going to be very interesting.
Yeah. Before I break down the NL East, there's 2 types of people out there. You got the fan of the team, right, and then you have the realist, right? The fan, come April, man, we're going to the World Series. We're going to win it all.
2 days before the season starts.
That's
like
right.
We are right now.
That's right. And come August, the realist fan comes out and he's like, well, he or she, well, we're 25, 30 games out. We're not going anywhere. You will see both sides from me, okay?
Well, let's hope not.
Nah, well, here's the deal. The Nationals, they have a new coach. They have probably one of the top 2, top 3 players in the majors in Bryce Harper, contract year. So we can probably expect 35 to 40 and home runs and 120 RBIs.
Yeah.
They're pretty loaded, and that lineup is pretty good.
Yeah,
absolutely. They got Victor Robles down in the minors, who is probably going to get a call-up pretty soon. He plays the outfield. And they
still have Daniel Murphy.
They still have Daniel Murphy, ultimate Met killer.
Which is weird because he took us to the World Series.
Yes, super weird. And they have possibly the best 1-2 combo in the majors in Max Scherzer and Steven Strasburg.
You're such a wimp.
Why?
You told me that was the best 1-2 combo in the majors.
No, I said, no, I didn't.
Yes,
what?
You did.
I don't remember that. I don't know what he's talking about.
No, No, wait a minute. You told me they were the 2 best pitchers in the majors.
If you have that on recorded, then
I
maybe.
don't, but I'm going to hit the record button the next time we're hanging out and you're talking crap like that.
So, I mean, you know, and Gio Gonzalez is not too far behind those guys. Their bullpen is what scares me.
Yeah.
It's what's been their Achilles heel the past couple of seasons. You know, and then you have the Mets and the Phillies. I think the Phillies have a decent young team. Okay, I think Jake Arrieta was a great sign-in. I think Carlos Santana, switch hitting first baseman, was also a good sign-in. And they have some young players that play good ball. And depending on how the rest of that starting rotation does, they could make some noise.
Yeah.
And then we move over to the Mets.
Now we're talking best 1-2 combination.
The Mets, when you talk about the Mets, you better take out the Band-Aids. You better talk health. If this team is not healthy, we are going to see a repeat of the past 10 seasons, except for 2015. We saw what this team could do. The pitching staff can be very good. My big question mark is it's not the question if he's any good. It's the question mark is Matt Harvey going to be mentally ready to go out there every day and bust his behind and perform to the level of Syndergaard and DeGrom.
Yeah, I mean, if Harvey can stay focused and healthy, that 1-2-3 punch, I like it matching up against the Nationals 1-2-3 punch. And quite frankly, I don't think anyone else has a 1-2-3 punch to match it. Maybe the Astros with Keuchel, Verlander, and McCullers.
Yeah.
But yeah, and Harvey's a key piece of that puzzle.
And here's the thing that I like about the Mets. They got Mickey Callaway, the pitching coach from the Cleveland Indians, and he's not focused on the starting rotation. He's handed those duties over to Dave Eland, and he wants to be hands-on with the rest of the team. The big question mark with the Mets, another question mark with the Mets is, can they produce runs in a different way other than the home run ball?
Well, and the key to that is going to be Rosario and his development.
Yes, and when you talk about shortstops, he can be one that could be in the talks for the next few years.
Yeah.
So
I mean, not today. Obviously, he's a baby rookie, right? He's not even. Actually, this will technically be his rookie season because last year he got called up very late.
Right.
But they think the world of him. Maybe not as much of a hitter as a Carrera, Lindor, Turner, but certainly in the field, which will only help the pitching staff, which is always a good thing. But it'll be very, very interesting. The Mets, I think, and again, full disclosure here, we are Mets fans. I think the Mets can really make that an interesting race with the Nationals. I think the Nationals are better. The Nationals won last year by 20-some-odd games. I don't think that they will do the same this year. Mm-hmm. Whereas I think the AL West and the AL Central might be repeats of last year, where you got teams that win 100 games or damn near 100 games and win by easily double digits. I think something could pop here in the National League.
Yeah.
With Washington, the Mets, and Philadelphia. If I had to guess, it would be the Mets, only because they have such solid pitching. But I wouldn't be surprised to see Philly really make a lot of noise in there. And again, the Mets and Phillies have the advantage of playing 35 games against I hate to keep going back to that, but
it's
I mean, the Marlins gave away everything.
Yeah.
Everything.
Yeah.
Everything. So it's unfortunate.
So let's move on over to the NL Central, where you have the Cubs who kind of ran away with the division, but they only won it by 6 games.
Well, they didn't really run away with it. I mean, it was pretty close until about mid-August. They started to kind of put their stamp on it.
I mean, Milwaukee was on their toes.
Hung in there.
Yeah, definitely. And I think the the biggest addition here to the Central and to the Cubs has to be Yu Darvish.
Yeah, I'm not sold on Yu Darvish.
No?
I feel like sometimes I feel like when someone gets exposed in the playoffs, maybe because everyone watches it so intently, they get exposed for good.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes it works the other way, right? Like Daniel Murphy was average, maybe slightly above average second baseman. He hit that hot streak with the Mets in the playoffs in 2015, and he's never looked back. He's a top 5 second baseman all of a sudden. And I think and it works the other way. I think Yu Darvish got exposed during the playoffs last year, and I feel like it's not as good of a signing. I don't think he's a number one. And I think the Cubs may be in a little bit of trouble because of that. The thing that will offset for the Cubs is there's no way Chris Bryant and Anthony Rizzo are going to have as bad of a year as they did last year. Oh, and Schwarber, right?
Oh, man.
I mean, Schwarber got sent down to the minor leagues at some point and came back half the human being.
Yeah. He lost
literally half the human being.
Yeah. He left it in the minors, I guess.
He left he left the Kyle part in the minor leagues,
which is huge for the Cubs, because if he can play on the field, right? If he can play left field, his bat, it's almost like a free agent signing.
Yeah.
I mean,
you're absolutely right, because
right?
he was nothing last year for them.
And I'm on board with you, Darvish. Look, he goes from the Rangers to the Dodgers to the Cubs. The only reason I believe his stats will be good is because he's protected by that good lineup that will put up runs. But Yu Darvish I've never seen him as an ace. He got injured a few years ago, and I just don't. I don't know. I don't see him as a leader of a team, or I don't see him being that great. So whatever.
And the Cubs lost a little bullpen.
Yeah.
With Davis being gone, so
right.
it's going to be interesting. I think they're the best team in that division. The problem for that division is who's going to take over second, right? It's kind of the same problem that the AL Central has, although here I think it's more than 2 teams, because you have the Brewers, who I think are probably the best of the bunch.
Yeah.
The Cardinals are just a well managed team. They get the most out of what they have.
Something about that team, they're not the same that they used to be.
I don't think they're a contender for the World Series, but they're the kind of team that can grind through the summer and be in the race. And then you've got the Reds, who, people sleep on the Reds, but the Reds had the best. They had the best hitting team in the National League, at least last year. So if they can get any kind of pitching from what they have on staff right now, they may improve dramatically.
Yeah.
The flip side of that is, if they struggle, what happens to Joey Votto and what happens to some of those guys?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, they got a super young team, super young pitching staff too.
Very young pitching, mostly the pitching staff, and they have, from what I understand, 0 bullpen. Yeah, which is always a problem in baseball. If you don't have a bullpen, you're in trouble.
But
it's amazing how many games get stolen after the 6th inning.
But a young pitching staff like that, not playing with tons of pressure, right? They're not playing in Boston and New York, so you never know.
And they're going to get a lot of run support,
right?
Which could give even a mediocre pitcher confidence, which sometimes takes him a long way. I thought Milwaukee was going to get their hands on Arrieta, and that didn't happen.
And Darvish.
That's right. They were in the sweepstakes for both. Yeah. Got neither. They're going to be an interesting team.
They added to their lineup. I can see them at the deadline making a move for some pitching. Definitely.
They have to.
Yeah. They don't have anybody.
I don't think, as presently constructed, they'll be able to keep up with the Cubs. Yeah.
I agree. And then, and Pittsburgh's in complete rebuild mode, so.
Yeah. McCutcheon gone, Cole gone.
Pittsburgh can look forward to the NHL, I guess.
2019, it's right around the corner.
So, what's next? NL West?
The NL West.
Now, when you talk about interesting division, this is the interesting division to me. because last year you had 3 teams that made the playoffs out of this division, with the Dodgers being just running away with the thing,
104 wins.
Yeah, I mean they went on a crazy win streak too. They must have had, I don't know how many times they won 10 games in a row, but
it's ridiculous.
And they have a complete ace in Kershaw, right? And there's another ace in that division, right, with Madison Bumgarner, although he's out for 8 weeks.
Man, that's a bummer.
Yeah, that sucks for them. But San Francisco didn't make the playoffs. The Diamondbacks and the Rockies made the playoffs alongside the Dodgers. I don't trust the Giants this season. I think that I don't think they're going to have enough pitching. I don't even know the name of their opening day starter. It's not going to be Samardzija. It's not going to be Bumgarner. I don't even think it's Cueto. Buster Posey's getting older. I don't think Longoria is that piece that they needed. I think McCutchen out of the signings will blossom. I think he will go back to his MVP season that he had a few years ago. But other than that, I don't see the Giants making a run for the division, to be honest with you. I think it's going to be a 3-team race again. And when I say race, I mean it's going to be closer.
I don't necessarily agree with you there. I think it's going to be a 3-team race, but not for the division. It's going to be a 3-team race for the wild card. I think the Giants are going to be in the conversation, provided Samardzija and Bumgarner come back and can stay healthy the rest of the way. I think they've got decent pitching. I think adding McCutchen is huge for them. That outfield looks really solid now. So I think they are in the conversation with the Rockies and the Diamondbacks. Again, the Dodgers won the division by 20 games, I think. They won 104 games. 20 games. I mean, if you think about it, the Dodgers have to give up 10. That's 94 wins. But that means someone else has got to make up 10. And that's just too big of a gap. And I think the Dodgers are going to win that division possibly by double digits again.
Who's their other pitcher besides Kershaw? Because I don't know that their rotation is all that good.
It doesn't need to be when you've got as much batting as they do. They've got a stacked lineup. And they've got young guys who have already performed in high pressure situations like the World Series, and they're only going to get better. Jock Peterson and Corey Seager, guys are only going to get better. They've got the catcher Grandal. They've got another catcher too. They're stacked. They're stacked, and you've got Jenkins closing out games, so they have a solid bullpen. Remember, the bullpen last year was one of their strengths.
Jensen.
What did I say? Jenkins.
Yes.
Sorry,
That's okay.
Sorry, Jensen. So they've got a solid bullpen. The starters got to just get them through 6.
Yeah.
And they've got run support, and then it shuts down after that. I think they are very good, and I don't think they're going to win 100 games. I think it's very hard to go back-to-back on 100 to get 100 wins. But they're good. They're really good.
The team,
and I think Colorado and Arizona Colorado I don't think has improved enough to really give them a run. San Francisco improved, but they started so far back. I don't think they've improved enough. And I think Arizona is going to really miss J.D. Martinez.
I
think that's a huge loss for them.
Because now teams can don't have to pitch to Goldschmidt.
Yeah.
Right?
Exactly.
So it's going to be difficult,
It's a problem.
Yeah.
I think it is flat out a problem for them.
Their rotation doesn't scare anybody, I think. Zach Greinke, probably one of the most overpaid for the least amount of...
that guy's going to be the second highest paid player
I did not know
baseball. Not pitcher, player. He's actually going to get paid a little bit more than Clayton Kershaw.
Wow.
If you had to pitch one game, those two face off in the wild card, who are you betting on, Kershaw or Greinke?
Yeah, that's a no-brainer.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, that guy, I want that guy's agent.
Yeah.
When this podcast blows up.
And with the Rockies, I think they tried to shore up their bullpen a little bit. They still need some starting pitching. Obviously, playing in Coors Field for 82 games is no good
81.
for the mentality of
81.
You know what I meant. For the mentality of those pitchers. But, I think it's going to be closer than what most think, I believe.
I think Colorado's the best of those three teams, probably. But I still think they're a ways away. Again, I think the Dodgers by double digits.
Okay, well.
They're good.
It's a long season, my friend. 162 games.
Yeah, all right. It's a very long season.
Well, that's our division breakdown of the 2018 Major League Baseball season. How about...
No season is complete without some awards.
Some awards. Ooh, this should be good.
Yes, it's going to be hard.
For you.
It's not easy.
I vote every year, bro.
All right, where do you want to start? MVP?
Of course, MVP.
Let's
start in the American League.
Okay.
The easy one.
All of them.
Who is all of them?
My goodness. So I think JD Martinez is will be in the conversation. I expect JD Martinez to have a really good season.
Yeah.
I think he's from the New England area, going back to Boston. He's going to be a happy camper, and I think he is going to mash in that park. He's going to love it. So I think I'm expecting a big season from him, and it's only going to help Benintendi, Mookie Betts, Xander Bogaerts. That team in general is going to have a lot of gaudy numbers.
When you really think about it, I mean, people want to talk about Houston and the Yankees and the Nationals. Man, Boston is pretty darn stacked.
Yeah. I'm telling you, the more we talk about this, the more I can understand the GM of the Brewers being like, well, screw it, let's just wait till next year and hope we can get our hands on Machado and Harper. Right?
Yeah.
So back to the MVP conversation. And then on the Yankees, I think you'll talk about Judge and Stanton because they're big names in the big city, but there's just not enough. There's going to be too many strikeouts, not enough batting average, yada, yada, yada. And then you got to have Francisco Lindor in the conversation. He's a baller. I think Sano with the Twins is going to have a good season. And then out west, he's not going to get the pub is the problem, right?
Right.
And then out west, man, Altuve is your reigning AL MVP, although he just got a big, long contract extension, so I expect him to take a little drop a little bit.
Alert.
Yeah, exactly. But you've got Carlos Correa and George Springer. May not make it quite to that MVP conversation, but that guy with the again, like we talked about Daniel Murphy earlier, with his run through the playoffs, he may explode
very well
and have a great season. You've also got Mike Trout with the Angels, and I hate to say this, but I mean you got to think about Ohtani, and it really creates a dilemma for voters, right? Because let's say he only gets 25, 28, let's call it 28 starts, right? Let's say he's not blowing your hair back with 19 wins. Let's say he's got 13 wins. Let's say he's 13-5, which is pretty good.
I'll take it.
Not great, but 13-5. His ERA is high 2s, low 3s. Not Cy Young.
Right.
But pretty good. Oh, and then we're going to add, call it a 270 batting average, maybe 20, 22 home runs, 70 RBIs. Again, not blowing your hair back, but not playing every day as a position player. How's that guy not win MVP?
Yeah.
Right? I mean, it's tough. It is really, really tough.
It was tough enough without Ohtani there. With Ohtani, and if he comes close to what you just mentioned, it makes it super hard. I mean, super hard.
Yeah.
How
you were gonna go 1990s and call it
stupid hard. I really was. My Brooklynitis almost came out.
That's stupid hard, man.
Dead ass, bro. But yeah.
Yikes.
Well, you got many to choose from. Do you want me to take off my hat and put names in there and just Just pick one or what? You got to pick one.
Yeah. I'm going to go JD Martinez. I just have a feeling that he is going to have a monster year in Boston. I think, look, he's an exceptional ball player, obviously. And I think that lineup with him in it is going to thrive and it's going to help him. And I think that ballpark is going to really suit his power. So I'm going to go JD Martinez.
Yeah, those are all very, very good names.
I mentioned everyone so that you
so I have no idea who to take. I'm just going to take Judge and Stanton. That's the easy pick. They're going to crush 60 home runs each. Co-MVP, bro. Co-MVP. No, I'm just kidding.
They had co-MVP once, like in 1979.
Oh, yeah, I remember those days. But anyway.
You weren't born in 1979.
I know.
I was.
Ha, ha, ha.
I'm damn near 50.
My pick for the AL MVP is pretty easy. It's pretty easy. I mean, give me the 5-tool player who plays great defense, who can hit home runs, who hits for average,
I know where you're going
who can
here.
drive in runs, who can score runs, and I think he's going to have a monster season. He's had a monster season since he came in the league. Mike Trout is the easy pick for me.
It's not a bad pick. Isn't he hitting free agency next year?
No, he's locked for another 2 years.
Oh, okay.
Making a lot of cash.
Hey, if Ohtani ends up being really good, can we call him a 6-tool player? If he throws in some pitching?
Shit. Yeah, they might have to recategorize.
Come up with a
new... Seriously, I mean that's amazing stuff, man. I mean it's really something to think about.
I think that storyline is must-watch TV this year.
Yeah,
I really do. I'm all in, man. I'm like, bring me the popcorn. I want to watch.
So is the NL MVP that much harder for you? Who do you have there?
NL MVP. I expect a bounce back year from Chris Bryant and Anthony Rizzo, but I don't expect it to be enough to overtake Bryce Harper. Yeah, Bryce Harper's in the last year of a contract. Usually that spells doom for pitchers that have to face batters like that, because for some reason they can just it almost seems like they can just turn it on. Obviously that's not the case, but there's some kind of special drive, I guess, when you get to that point. And he's a fantastic player. Even if he has a down year, it's going to be pretty good. But like I said, don't sleep on Bryant and Rizzo, especially if Schwarber comes back. Yeah. You've got a formidable 3-4-5 that I think will help, especially Chris Bryant. I think it will help him a lot.
Oh, yeah.
I think there's good things there. And, don't sleep on Seager out in the West with the Dodgers. I think he's a phenomenal player. It'll be very interesting to see how this season goes, but that kid is good.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah. My NL MVP, there's a few out there. Obviously, like you said, Harper is one of those names, right? Contract year, and he just doesn't hit for average, but I mean he'll crank out the home runs and the RBIs. My choice for the National League is Cespedes. I think he's gonna have a healthy year. He doesn't hit for average either, but he has unbelievable defense. That arm in the outfield is
it's ridiculous.
It's great, and I think he's gonna stay healthy, and he's gonna do what the rest of the lineup has been doing for the Mets, and that's just hit home runs and drive in runs. So I think Cespedes is my choice.
As they say back in Brooklyn, from your mouth to God's ears. Hope you're right. Cy Young's now in the American League. This one's a tough one. But for me, it really comes down to two guys. There's a lot of good pitchers out there. I actually think Ohtani will be in the conversation. And I think Dallas Keuchel will be in the conversation. But I think when you get down to it, I'm gonna take all the good guys again. But I think when it gets down to it, it's gonna come down to Corey Kluber and Chris Sale. And I'm gonna go with a repeat. I think Kluber is for real. And I mean, that guy, he just looks like he can pitch forever. I mean, he's just an outstanding player, outstanding pitcher with unbelievable control. I like him a lot. What's going to benefit Sale is his win count, because he's going to have that lineup providing him a ton of run support. But I think in the end, more and more, I've noticed over the past few years, more and more emphasis seems to be placed on ERA and WHIP, and wins almost, I won't say don't matter, but they matter significantly less than those two stats. I think baseball voters have become much more stat junkies when it comes to that, and I think Kluber will have better numbers in that area, and thus will win the AL Cy Young Award for 2018.
Yeah, actually, I'm going to go against that, and my pick is Chris Sale. I think he's going to have an awesome season. He this will be his second year with Boston. So he's going to be a little more comfortable pitching at Fenway Park, and he's just going to benefit from all the runs that the Red Sox are going to score, I think, and not to mention he can pitch his ass off. So my pick is Chris Sale.
Not a bad pick.
And then in the National League, man, it's so tough to pick against Kershaw. I mean,
you have a lot of options.
You do.
Go ahead and rattle off some of those options, Tim.
Man, well, you got Noah Syndergaard with the Mets. So I mean, if this great new program that he's on is gonna work he's gonna have a great season. I mean, this guy's throwing 100 miles per hour. He's got filthy stuff. DeGrom is not to be overlooked at either. I mean,
agree.
They can both pitch. Then you got Scherzer and Strasburg in Washington.
Heck, I think you can even throw in Gio Gonzalez. Gonzalez is on the up.
Yeah, he'll get a notable mention. And then you got, I may not believe in him, but Darvish. Darvish could, excel and be in the Cy Young talk. But my pick is Steven Strasburg. I think he's going to have an unbelievable season. He's not the number one on the team. So he's pitching against everyone else's number two. And in the National League, I don't think the starting rotations are all that to begin with. There's very few 1 and 2 dominant, right, in the National League. So, and again, like you mentioned, he gets to pitch against the Braves and the Marlins and all the other bottom feeders. So my pick is Steven Strasburg.
That's a good pick. It's a shame that Madison Bumgarner's out for the first 8 weeks of the season. Otherwise, I would say I think he will. I expect a comeback year from him, but now I'm a little bit more hesitant because of that. And you're right, it is very hard to go against Kershaw. Man, the NL East, wow.
There's some arms there.
Scherzer, Strasburg, Gonzalez, Syndergaard, DeGrom. And if Harvey stays healthy and doesn't become a head case, you could have 6 unbelievable pitchers in that division. I'm going to go with Noah Syndergaard. I do expect him to bounce back, and I think that he had already packed on muscle last year. I think his body's probably more accustomed to it now. Right. He's worked with it. He's worked with the extra weight and the extra muscle, and I think it's only going to make him stronger. And, it sounds silly, but he basically had last year off. And sometimes that really helps an arm stay lively the following year. Mm-hmm. And I think that's part of what we're going to see with him. It should be very interesting. The Cy Young race in the National League will be about as interesting as that Yankee Red Sox race in the AL East. So I'm looking forward to seeing how that plays out. But I think Syndergaard will do great.
We'll let you out.
Yeah, I hope so.
Okay. Well, we broke down the divisions. We got the awards out of the way. But we haven't picked any division winners or,
wild card or any of that.
The juicy stuff, man. Who's going to win?
All right, let's get through that. Let's get through this part because I think this is kind of easy.
Okay.
But I'm a lot smarter than you are, so it may not be as easy for you.
At times only.
I think we'll start in the American League. I think the division winners from the Central and the West are pretty clear. It's the Astros and it's the Indians.
Okay.
I think in the AL East, I think the Red Sox are going to pull it off. Nice. I think the pressure will get to the Yankees, and I don't exactly trust their pitching staff completely. So I'm leaning a little bit more towards Boston. I do think the Yankees will easily win the wild card.
Okay.
And then the second wild card, and I'm saying this just for fun because I don't think I actually believe this.
You shouldn't either.
Yeah. I think the Anaheim Angels are going to pick up that last wild card spot.
Wow.
And I almost think half the reason I say that is because I want to see the Ohtani saga go as long as possible. I just think it's going to be so entertaining to watch. If I can't pick Ohtani, or if Ohtani decides to flee the United States and I have to pick with my mind again, I think the White Sox will edge out the Twins. I think the White Sox are going to have a good season. They're going to edge out the Twins and make the playoffs if I had to go that route. But Ohtani's going to be there all year. Trout's going to be there all year. And they've got D. Gordon as well. I think the Anaheim Angels will take the wild card.
Okay.
So I'll keep going. I'll go all the way to who my World Series representative will be.
Go for it.
So the Yankees will beat the Anaheim Angels in the wild card, and so now I've got Houston, Cleveland, Boston, New York. I think it'll be Houston and Boston in one, Cleveland and the Yankees in a repeat in the other, and the ALCS will come down to Boston and Cleveland. And I think Cleveland gets it done and goes back to the World Series for the AL this year. I think they are. I do expect a little bit of a letdown from Houston, a little bit of just not being able to hold that intensity throughout the playoffs and getting bounced, unfortunately for them. But I expect Cleveland to represent the American League in the World Series.
Okay. My turn for the American League?
Yeah.
Yeah, the West, hands down, Houston. The Central, you got Cleveland. And in the National League East, I'm going...
American League East.
Yeah, the American League East.
We're doing the American League.
I am going to take the Boston Red Sox winning the... not to copycat, but I just think they have better pitching.
You obviously know I'm right.
Whatever.
All the time.
And then in the wild card, the Yankees will be there, and
the American League seems kind of boring, doesn't it?
It does. Like there's really no other teams.
Well, you've got these.
There are other teams.
Those four teams are they're super teams compared to the rest.
Yeah,
they really are.
Yeah.
Who else would you pick, right? Baltimore's got some potential, right? Toronto's got some potential, but they've got so many glaring holes. It's just hard to see them going anywhere.
Yeah, even if we said they have a good overall team, it's not good enough.
It's not compared to those four.
It's not.
Not compared to those four.
And my second wild card is going to be Minnesota, so I got the Yankees and Minnesota battling out again for the wild card this year with God, I hate to do this, but the Yankees. I got the Yankees winning that wild card game. So, so we've got Houston, Cleveland, Boston, and the Yankees.
That's what I said.
Yeah, I know. It's like don't adjust your settings, people.
This is not a repeat.
But I am going to go a little different here. I got Houston and Boston in the championship.
That'll be a phenomenal series.
And I have out of those two, I just think that Boston has the better pitching in my eyes. They have the better pitching.
I disagree with you.
Yeah, I think they have.
If that matchup happens, I would not hang my hat on Boston's pitching over Houston's pitching. But go on.
I put more trust in Sale and David Price. Plus, I picked Sale for the Cy Young, so he's gonna carry them. Between Houston and Boston, I picked Boston to advance to the World Series.
Wow, that's gonna be awesome. That's gonna be so much fun to watch.
Yep.
That's gonna be so much fun to watch. Moving on to the National League, the division winners. I'm gonna go Dodgers, Cubs, and Nationals. I think they
struggled on that one.
Yeah, I am a little bit concerned that they're not going to be able to hold it together when they get when they get a run for their money from the Mets and the Phillies.
We've seen it before.
Exactly. That's my. And here's the thing, right? Halfway through the season, if they're not blowing people away, and they start thinking about free agency and they start thinking about the offseason, we've seen these guys pack it in before.
Yeah.
It's worrisome that they might pack it in again. So that is certainly the most tenuous of the division winners in my eyes. For the wild card, I'm going to go with the Mets. I think the Mets pitching will come through.
Okay.
And that should be very exciting to watch if it holds up. And I think they will give Washington a run for their money. For my second wild card, man, if Bumgarner was healthy from the jump, I would pick the Giants because I think they're really good. But with that being said, I think they're going to get off to a slow start, and it's going to be a tough road to hoe for them. I'm going to go with the Rockies. The Brewers certainly call me as well because I think they're a good team. It's going to be a really close race, I think, between the Brewers, Rockies, and Giants because I think the Giants will make a late push. But I'm going to go with the Rockies. And then I'm going to take, in a one-game scenario between the Mets and the Rockies, you got to take the Mets because the amount of pitching that they have is just phenomenal.
Yeah.
So now I've got the Mets, Nationals, Cubs, and Dodgers. And to me, it gets kind of easy here. It's the Dodgers and the Cubs. And I think that, it should make for a fascinating series between those two teams. And I think the Dodgers will end up winning and going to the World Series.
Wow. Against who?
Cleveland Indians. So I've got Cleveland and the Dodgers in the World Series.
Wow. Okay. Well, I'll start in the National League East. Washington is probably the favorite to win the division, but I'm going to say that the Mets give them fits all year long, and the Mets go on and win the NL East. The Cubs will win the Central, and the Dodgers will win the West. And let's see, I'm going to say Washington wins the first wild card, and the other wild card is going to come out of the Central, and it will be the Brewers. So we got a pretty unattractive matchup between the Nationals and the Brewers in my wild card.
I don't know who wants to watch that.
I think I do. So Washington will win that game, and that leaves us the Mets, the Cubs, the Dodgers, and the Nationals. Give me a repeat of 2015, and it's going to be the Mets and the Cubs in the National League Championship Series.
Jot down Washington there.
Washington. And, man,
we're doing this in ink so we can pull it back up 6 months from now.
That's right. The Mets got the pitching, man. Plain and simple. They stay healthy. They got the pitching. They got some inning eaters that can go. I got the Mets in Boston in the World Series, man.
A repeat of 1986.
How awesome would that be?
That would be awesome. Can you imagine how many times we'll see that Bill Buckner play if those two ever meet in the World Series again?
Golly, yeah.
My heart breaks for Boston fans that have to see it over and over again. Well, with that being said, Cleveland and the Dodgers for me in the World Series. I hate to do this, but one of them, both of them have been bridesmaids recently. So one of them is going to be a bridesmaid again. And unfortunately, I think it's going to be the Dodgers. I think the Indians will win the World Series. And I think we're going to get another 7-game classic. And I'm going to take the Indians to win the World Series in 2018.
Wow. So you think the Dodgers will make the World Series and not the Astros?
Well, I think
I'm just saying.
Cleveland's going to make it and not the Astros.
Oh, yeah, that's what I meant.
You still think of them as a National League team, don't you?
Yeah, kind of.
I do too.
Kind of. I kind of wish they still were, actually.
Yeah, ditto.
Man, I know I'm going to jinx myself, as I always do, but you know what? I don't care. I am a fan. I am a realist. And the thing is, the Mets have the talent. They've had it for a long time. They got the pitching. They stay healthy. They are going to win it all in 2018. You heard it here first. I am the ultimate jinx to the Mets, but this year, it's different. The Mets win the 2018 World Series.
This is great. These fans will never believe anything you say ever again.
It's okay.
They'll only listen to me from now on.
Whatever.
Well, I guess that's it, right? We got a World Series winner. It's over.
It's over. Done.
It's going to be a fantastic 2018 season. There's going to be so much to talk about. The Yankees and their monster lineup. The rivalry with the Red Sox. The Nationals, will they melt down? The Dodgers, will they run away with the West? Ohtani. What will Ohtani do? How much will he pitch? How much will he hit? How good will he be at either one or both?
Yeah.
And can the Astros repeat? There's so many questions and so many answers for us to discuss over the next 6 months. Hey, we look forward to talking about it every week with you guys. If you guys want to chime in, feel free to do so. Send an email to the Positive Sports Podcast. Email the show at positivesports10@gmail.com. positivesports10@gmail.com. Or if you don't want to send it to the show, you can hit us up individually because we love talking about this stuff. We'll interact with you because there's nothing we like more than talking baseball. If you want to reach my brother,
remember, don't be a leader, be a follower. Follow me on Twitter at Brooklyn Gaucho.
And if you want to reach me, you can do so on Twitter at eMontana21. That's right. You can reach me at eMontana21. I hope that you enjoyed our special episode. We certainly enjoyed talking about it and sharing our thoughts with you. Share your thoughts with us. We'll bring it up on upcoming shows throughout the season. Yep. And as always, folks, ignore the negativity. Be the positivity.
Peace.